Allow me to qualify what I'm about to say in this video. Let me make it perfectly clear that, of course, in no way do I agree with and support the kind of extremely unethical and dangerous corruption and other misconduct that has caused much of our global financial crisis. This mega crisis, which threatens all of us, is, in my opinion, part of something much deeper, something of a conspiracy to destroy European and American civilization as we know it. It is very, very dangerous. It's a dangerous game played by very dangerous actors. So, let me get on with the video. And now to the main point of my video. You probably have seen one or more videos suggesting that all of us who have any debt should simply stop paying off our debts, specifically to banks, financial institutions, credit card companies, etc. This would be actually the very worst possible thing to do for most of us. Yes, on an individual basis, there are some persons whose lives would actually be endangered, who must find alternatives and solutions that can possibly mean that they don't have to pay their full debt off. But in general, the idea that one should agree to join others in not paying off their credit card debts, their financial debts, in not participating further in the economic systems that we live in, is crazy, is insane, it's madness. Let me tell you why. First of all, let's get something very clear. These efforts to confuse people, to play with people's feelings and emotions about debt, are very dangerous. Unbeknownst to most people who might have made those videos, and unbeknownst to people who watch those videos that are suggesting that we should simply ignore our debts, these videos are serving interests of a very clever global conspiracy. Let me repeat that. These videos that suggest that we should stop paying our debts are part of a very clever global conspiracy. A conspiracy that is in the interest of certain world powers run by oligarchs, which seek to ruin, wreck, devastate, destroy European civilization and the USA's ability to come to the rescue of Europe. Do not think that by helping to cause the collapse of the Euro-American financial systems that it would actually bring about any positive change. This is a big and dangerous lie. It would not bring about any positive change at all if the Euro-American financial systems were to collapse. It would be the beginning of really horrific things. Let me tell you, if this mad plan, which probably wouldn't succeed so easily without a lot of people falling for it, falling for these dangerous videos that suggest that we should simply stop paying our debt. If this kind of mad plan were ever to succeed, it would cause the following horrific, just terrible things to happen, and I'm very serious. Number one or more of our world's major powers waiting on the sidelines would simply come in, swoop in, and financially and economically take control and super exploit and enslave all of us in Europe and the United States. Think about it. People, powerful people with some reserves of money would simply be able to take advantage of the vacuum and the chaos that would ensue. Two, most of all of our citizens would suffer extreme, terrible poverty, famine, disease, torture, and death. Really, if the financial systems of the United States and Europe, or either or both, because actually it would be both, were to suddenly collapse, most people would die as a result of terrible economic problems, social problems, terrible crime waves, terrible famines because of the lack of available food. It would just be horrific, especially in the United States, given the kind of situation we have in terms of the right to bear arms. So it would just be horrific. And the first to go, by the way, would be the sick and the elderly who are dependent on life-saving medications, which would not be available if the society, if the financial systems of the United States and Europe were to collapse. You just wouldn't be able to get the medication that you need to live. So there would be lots of people, probably around 20%, who would die as a result of inability to get medical care and medications. 3, chances exist that the whole world would rapidly spiral out of control. And with the new high-tech types of destructive weapons and other frightening technologies that most people are not even aware of, with these horrible weapons and technologies that actually exist, we would all eventually suffer a most horrific final few months, maybe at best a few years, of horrific chaos, mayhem, and sheer terror. It would be horrific. I have survived living in a war zone as a child, and I know what I'm talking about. War, it's not what you think it is when you only have seen it in the movies, or you've maybe served a few months in the military. That's one side of war. But when you are actually at the mercy of people with high-tech weapons, and just take a look at what's going on in certain countries in the world right now, you can imagine that that's much, much, much worse than what you see in the movies, because it's real. You just can't go anywhere. You can't be safe. And, well, listen, if we really want change, if we really want positive change, we need to do it gradually and cautiously. I know that we need change as soon as possible, but it has to be cautiously and gradually and within the framework of our democratic, relatively democratic systems. It has to be. And there are ways to solve these problems, and this is what I think the current president of the United States is trying to do. He's trying to solve these problems, but all these opportunists, these conflict profiteering opportunists, are playing right into the hands of this global conspiracy to downrate, to reduce the economies of the United States and Europe. That's why I say that even if these agencies that are rating the economies of Europe and the United States are not deliberately part of this conspiracy, they are playing into it because they're being influenced, in my opinion, by very cleverly manipulated data. And also their logic, their system is flawed, because the world has become much more intertwined, interconnected, and much more complex. And so the models upon which they base their ratings that used to be more or less correct are not valid today. There should be major investigations about this. So the so-called alternative, that these videos that suggest that we should just simply stop paying all our debts off, these so-called wise videos are nothing but dangerous, very dangerous ideas that can only serve the interest of those who are crazy enough to think that they're going to benefit at the end, the few that will be around to scavenge among the bones. Now, I say this is just wrong. So don't follow the advice of those videos. It's dangerous. From a personal point of view, like I said, if you specifically cannot pay off your debts because you would be in a life-threatening situation, then you have to find whatever the law allows you to do. But most of you who have debts can afford to negotiate the payments of these debts, and should do so. It doesn't matter. Yes, I agree. The major financial institutions, some of the people involved, have really done a terrible grand theft, if you want to call it that. They have gotten away with terrible theft. But that doesn't justify all of us destroying each other. And that's what would happen. So we're kind of caught in a hard place. We're kind of caught between a rock and a hard corner. We really don't have much room for having everything the way it should be. So I suggest do not stop paying your debt if you can afford to pay off your debts. Negotiate the terms on which you pay them off. But definitely pay them off, because the cost of not having a secure financial system in the United States and Europe would be disastrous, just horrific. And it's basically stupid idealist young people who are healthy enough right now who think that, you know, they can afford to live in a world that would ensue if we cause the collapse. That collapse would really not, you know, be around for long. It would lead to the total end of civilization, everything that we value. I hope you've been listening. Thank you.